correct me if I'm wrong on this, is because of what you would say about the border and what you said about immigration, correct? Would you agree with that, or am I wrong?
That's where they first hit me, that I was racist for saying that the U.S. government exists to serve the interests of Americans, and that I've never been against immigration. I'm not against immigration now, but uncontrolled immigration makes your country worse, and it makes it less tidy, and it makes it dirtier, which I said, and they claimed that I called immigrants dirty because I was a Nazi. I don't think immigrants are dirty. I'm not a Nazi. I like virtually every immigrant I've ever met, legal or illegal. But it is a fact when you go, I grew up near the border, so I know if you have chaos anywhere, it's going to be untidy. And I believe in a country that is tidy, which means that even if you don't have a lot of money, you live in pleasant circumstances. You're not crowded shoulder to shoulder in some crappy, tenement or split level house in the exurbs among garbage. Like, I believe in the dignity of the average person. That's what I was trying to say. And this is not conducive to human dignity at all. We're treating these people like animals in the way that we're using them and manipulating them, these foreigners. And we're treating our own population with no respect whatsoever. And anyway, I was a racist for saying that, but I still believe it.
So I have come around on this issue, and I realized that there actually is a game being played. And here is Dick Durbin, and he's going to give the game away. This is about a week or two ago. Dick Durbin gave a speech, and it was all about why we need immigration and why we have to take all the people who are here illegally and as quickly as possible turn them into citizens. And he's going to give the game away right here. Here we go. And by the way, he's got all the fire in the belly of Fred Rogers. Here we go. Watch.
We need order at the border. Yes, we need to have changes in the laws that reflect the reality of the overwhelming numbers from all over the world who are coming to our shores and our border. But there is also an incredible demand for legal immigration into this country even now.
Why?
The presiding officer, my colleague from the state of Illinois, has legislation which addresses one aspect of that. Her bill, and I hope I describe it accurately, says that if you're an undocumented person in this country and you can pass the physical and the required test, background test, the like, you can serve in our military, and if you do it honorably, we will make you citizens of the United States. Do we need that? Do you know what the recruiting numbers are at the Army and the Navy and the Air Force? They can't reach their quotas each month.
So he just so there it is. The reason why our border has about the same level of security as your Facebook page is because we need foreign slaves as conscripts. That's what we do. The Yankees are wising up to the scam of these foreign wars, and what's going to drive people into the shredder? The old standby, desperation.
This is gangs of New York.
So, right. So there's people who don't want to join their own military, but they want to go to someone else's country and join their military. That's really what they want. So we need immigrants for our Squid Games. That's what he's saying. Hey, and not just for the military.
And that's the best case scenario. That's the best case. I mean, first of all, they drove a lot of, anyone with self-respect was already driven out of the military by the vax mandates. So the high testosterone population has dropped dramatically in the military, and they do have a massive recruiting problem. Now, I would say the answer is clean up the military, give it missions that the average person can support. People aren't joining the military because they don't support the mission.
That's right.
Right? They don't want to die or send their sons to die for Ukraine. Sorry. But we should consider another possibility here. So if they were about 50 million people without undocumented, illegal, whatever you want to call them, foreign nationals in our country who are not citizens. In a lot of cases, we don't know who they are. So if the majority of the ones who have come over the last 3 years are young military-age men. So if we say, okay, all of a sudden you get to join the military, and our military is populated by people who don't know anything about the United States at all, you have to consider the possibility that the point is not to use them to fight another foreign war, but the point may be to use them domestically. And the U.S. military increasingly, certainly over the last 3 years, but really over the last couple of decades, has been used for domestic purposes, not the National Guards. That's constitutional. The governor calls the Guard out, right? there's a problem. But the standing U.S. military has been used, and its intel services have been used, and that is the case on January 6th. But I think it's the case much more often than that. So if all of a sudden you're saying our military, we should give automatic weapons to people who just got here from foreign countries who we know nothing about at all, and those people can be used to keep order in the United States. I mean, this is literally how Rome fell. I mean, as you may or may not know, literally taking foreigners into the legions, and all of a sudden they're like, well, wait a second, we don't know what this Rome thing is, and we're not into it. And they ended the empire. They ended Rome. So we should be very careful about this because it's at scale, because it's tens of millions of people. It's not like if you're my age, 54, you grew up thinking, well, I have very positive feelings. Again, I grew up near the border of immigrants, like trying hard and like, it's hard to get here. It's a hassle. You're doing all the shit jobs no one will do. And it's sort of like good people, I would say. But if you import tens of millions of people all at once, like you don't know exactly who's there or why they're here or like, what is this? You could capsize your country really easily with stuff like this. Last thing I'll say is that Dick Durbin's an evil man. I don't think he's mistaken. I don't think he's misguided. I don't think any of this is an accident. I think he's a servant of evil. And I really mean that.
Tucker, he said he's going to make them cops as well.
Oh, wait, I'll go on. Yeah. Watch this. So he has more to say. So then he goes on. Another reason why. So we have this open border. Here we go.
Find enough people to join our military forces. And there are those who are undocumented who want the chance to serve and risk their lives for this country.
Yeah.
Should we give them the chance? I think we should.
Yeah, so we just need to take away every other avenue and then let them walk up the ramp just like cattle. Sometimes it amazes me how much our culture operates like a factory farm. It really is. I think it's important to know how the sausage is being made, but if they are using us to make the sausages.
Let me tell you about.
The price of college come down then if they're doing this with recruiting?
Here we go. I know. Here we go. So listen, he's got more to say.
Others that we need. In my state of Illinois, in inner city in Chicago, in the rural areas downstate, we're holding our breath, hoping that we can keep hospitals open. You know why? We don't have enough medical personnel.
What?
And yet there are people all around this world who have medical credentials as doctors and nurses and skilled technicians who want to come to the United States, but we don't give them the chance. I think it's a reasonable thing to do. I think it would make us a better nation and a healthier nation.
So there aren't enough Americans that are going into medical school or nursing schools, Tucker? Did you know that there's empty medical schools all across the country? I didn't know this. Did you know that?
No, I do think we're seeing an actual revolution. I think the immigration thing, it's been so poisoned by the race question, unfortunately, that no one can have a rational conversation about it. But taking away, anything to do with race or national origin, ethnicity, anything, religion, even anything like that, the scale of the change is so profound that nobody can handle it. We're going to wait. People don't understand. I mean, New York City is our largest city in the United States, biggest city in North America. It's 8 million people. We've imported multiples of that just in the last several years. So we've completely changed the country in ways that are not yet visible, but are about to be. And one of the many effects of this is that the people who are born here get kind of crowded out. And I mean, there are tons of people sitting at home who are driven out of the workforce for a bunch of different reasons over the past 4 years, and they're languishing and dying, and nobody cares at all about them. And so leaving aside even the moral calculations there, just to return to first principles, the only job of the U.S. government is to take care of Americans. We pay for it. We vote for it. It's ours. It's our country. So if they stop doing that, then they are, I think, ripe for a revolution, hopefully a nonviolent one, but definitely a revolution of some kind, because that's completely not the purpose of a representative democracy. I mean, it has to serve the people, and the people are last in line for, in every consideration that the government makes. And Dick Durbin and people like him are leading that. And I don't know. It's making me radical. I'm being honest with you.
It's making me radical also. I'm certainly going to be called.
He does have a fire in his belly, Dick Durbin.
He does. So
Get you fired up.
So I've said that. So we have a tight labor market right now. And Joe, but when I travel, I have to stay in hotels all the time. and we don't get maid service anymore, and there's nobody working at the restaurants. You can't get a waitress at a restaurant inside the hotel, and they used to say, well, it's COVID. Wait, what? So that doesn't make any sense. And, my friend Joe Bartnick has that great joke. He says, they say Mexicans are coming here to take our job. Well, where the hell are they? Right? Why don't we have... And so so what they're doing, why they want this open border, one of the big reasons is because the billionaire class wants to suppress the wages of Americans. And that's a fact. And I'm totally on board with that right now. And if you say that, Bernie Sanders used to say that, and then he got his mind right as soon as whoever threatened him with the prosecution of his wife is what my guess is that why he turned into such a cuck to power.
I agree with that.
They threatened to prosecute his wife. So now he'll do whatever the FBI tells him to. And that's what he's doing. And so he used to say that about the reason why the borders are open is because the Koch brothers want it that way. And now he's not allowed to say that.
You saw the Australian guy, right? That said the people they got to hurt more out there. No, real estate guy made all the news, but
I did.
Same thing they all think.
Yes, and so now now Dick Durbin he just gave the game away. They want him for the open borders because nobody's joining the military anymore. So we got to have foreigners fill our military, which is you pointed out is the worst thing you can have. And then he said we got to have them because nobody's working in our medical hospitals. And now there's the third one.
Keep those hospitals open, and they're desperate to find new personnel. We need legal immigration for that. The same holds true when it comes to agricultural workers.
Yeah,
in our state of Illinois, we desperately need them for virtually every aspect of farming and agriculture. Are they available and ready to come? Yes, but they need a change in the immigration law to reach that. Point I'm trying to make is that
you're a tool of the billionaire class and you want to suppress wages in America and fill our country with foreigners to take jobs that Americans would fill if they were paid a decent wage. And he went from doctors and nurses and medical technicians to farm workers and agricultural workers and the military. So we don't have enough people, and everybody I know is looking for a good job in America, except they don't want to provide a good job. They want to keep people who are on edge. No. And they want to keep everybody, so we can beg for an authoritarian rule, so somebody will come in and protect us from. And in the meantime, they want us to hate our neighbor. They want me to think that my neighbor is the problem. My neighbor is the fascist. My neighbor is the white supremacist. My neighbor is the Nazi. Instead of who is the real Nazi, the people who are pulling the strings of Dick Durbin right there, and Dick Durbin, and the people who populate the halls of Congress and the White House. They're the enemy of the people and the people in corporate news. Everybody at Fox News, NBC, CNN, the Washington Post, New York Times, those are the enemies of the people because they're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to call you a racist if you point this stuff out, and they'll do it on the regular. And that's what the professional managerial class is there to do, is there to police speech and make sure you don't tell a truth that you're not supposed to tell. So now I know the game that's actually happening. Now I know why they had to demonize you as a racist, because you were actually warning the country of what was actually happening and what's going on and how they're undermining our entire society right now. They could fix homelessness and they won't on purpose. Yes. They could have a closed border and they won't on purpose. They could end these wars and invest that money back here and they won't on purpose. They won't give people health care on purpose because it keeps you on edge. They won't give you a living wage or an affordable college tuition because it keeps people on edge. I'll throw it to you and you can say whatever you want.
Well, I would just make of course I agree with every word of that, but I would just raise one other possibility, which is the economy, which is, it's an election year. So it's possible now, because everything is centralized and everything emanates from the Fed, everything's about interest rates. It's possible to kind of hold markets up for a period. You're straining under the weight, but you can do it to November. That is their plan, okay? And then after that, they'll think of something else. But their short-term plan is to keep economic collapse at bay until the election. They're really, really trying hard. And they may be able to pull it off, but let's say they don't. Or let's say after the election. At some point, there's going to be a massive economic reset in this country. Massive. Okay, we're long overdue for one. A lot of our economy is fake. When that happens, what are the effects? That happened in 1929. It was a pretty cohesive country at the time. Pretty cohesive, actually, by current standards, incredibly cohesive. And the country made it through. And there was, rocky moments, and we can debate them. But America didn't fall apart. If you had that now, where the country has been, no one in the country has anything in common with anyone else. Neighbors hate each other to the extent they even know each other. And then you have tens of millions of new people who no one knows. All of a sudden, you've got an incredibly volatile mix. And the question is, what happens then? And I think shit could get real at that point. And you can't even predict what's going to happen then. But what you can say for certain is that you can't really know. And I think that we overstate their meaning the people who make these decisions, our political class, the Washington, they're not smart. They're not good at running stuff. And I don't think they have a plan for that. And I think we could have massive, massive internal turmoil in the United States. And I'm definitely concerned about that.
And so the establishment, because of social media, because of shows like yours and Russell Brand and Glenn Greenwald, it's losing control of the narrative. And when they lose control of the narrative, that's when they have to freeze your bank account. And that's when they have to start disappearing people. And that's when they have to start killing people like they're doing to Julian Assange. And they're doing it.